Hi, Brother Denny here. I would like to say I have seen God at His best. I'd like to give another testimony. It was, it's been several years back, quite a few years actually, and a friend of mine, his brother, had fallen with cancer. I guess that's the best way to explain it. And anyway. I knew this guy, and he's a pretty rough fella. I mean, he was he's a pretty rough guy, and he wasn't a Christian, but he's a nice guy. He just big fella, just you could talk to him, but he was kind of hard to talk to because he just didn't want to listen, especially about the gospel. A lot of people are like that. You just can't talk to them. And anyway, he had. This friend of mine had told me how his brother had cancer, and like I said, I'd met him and I knew him, and he knew of me and what have you, and he knew me back before I was a Christian. So of course that even makes it harder sometimes. And anyway, I'd been around him a time or two, and maybe more after I'd become a Christian, and so anyway, I was sitting at home one day, and I remember my friend called me and asked me if I wanted to come by, so I went by and visited with him and sat and talked to him and what have you. And this fellow's name was Clinton. He didn't say a whole lot. He just listened as me and my other buddy were talking. Of course, it was at his house and Clinton's house. And anyway, we talked quite a while, and I ended up leaving and prayed for Clinton. And I'd never done that before, and he'd never seen me pray for anybody, and so anyway, I left, and the next day I was at home, and the Lord just touched my spirit. And in my videos, you notice I said I can tell when God's touching me because He'll bring tears to my eyes, and He just put it in my spirit. Said, I want you to go over and visit with Clinton today. He said, I'm going to bless you if you'll go. And I said, okay, Lord, and I was praying, and I said, I'll go. So I decided to go over there, and when I went, of course, the time before when I went, I took coffee and donuts, and I don't even drink coffee. But I'd stop by the coffee shop and got them some. They drink coffee, but I ate the donuts. So anyway, I was going over there, and I just went by myself, and I remember knocking on his door, and he was really getting pretty sick, and I heard him holler, come on in, so I went in, and he was just surprised to see me there. He said, Denny, he said, what are you doing here? And I said, I just like to come visit with you. I said, I was thinking about you, and I said, I just want to do some more praying for you, and I said, you can't never get enough prayer. And he said, well, that's right, you can't do that. And I seen that Clinton was changing. I mean, just his attitude towards even me being a Christian, he was just changing. There was something going on. And, I know the Bible talks about, when Jesus said that about the drawing of the Spirit. So I didn't know a whole lot. I mean, I was fairly new Christian, and it really was. But I knew what God had told me. He said, if you go, I'm going to bless you. So anyway, I remember Clinton had to go lay down. He said, I need to lay down. He said, but I still want to talk to you. He said, will you come there in the bedroom? So I went in his bedroom, and he laid down, and we just, as he laid there, we were just talking, different things. And he said, Denny, I want to tell you something. He said, at first, he said, I knew you. He said, before you went to church and stuff. That's how he said it to me. I said, yeah. And he said, you've changed. He said, there's something about you that's just different. I said, well, yeah. I said, I got born again. And I said, He said, well, how did you start acting different? And I said, well, it wasn't me. I said, it was God. I said, He does all those things. I said, we just trust Him, and He takes care of that, And he said, I've been a pretty rough guy. You know that, don't you? I said, yeah, I remember you. I said, you were. And I said, we didn't hang out a lot. I said, you was a pretty rough guy. And but I could see he was just softening up. So we kept talking, and he said, well, he said, if I wanted to, he said, my sister, he said, he said, she goes to church, and he said, and my brother, and everybody goes to church, he said, but I don't. He said, I just ain't into all that. And I said, well, you know what? I said, God can touch you wherever he's at. And I said, what's nice? I said, you don't have to be in church. I said, for God to bless you. I said, it's all in prayer. And I said, no matter where we're at. I said, he can bless you. I said, but I'm going to pray for you. I said, anyway, I said, for this sickness that you got on you. I said, I said, cancer's a pretty bad thing. And he said, yeah, he said, they say I'm in stage 4. And I said, well, you know what? God could change all that. He said, I'm not really worried about that. I said, well, Clinton, what are you worried about? He said, well, I've seen the change in you. He said, and it's real with you. He said, I've been around it. He said, it is real with you. I said, Clinton, I said, if you'd like, I said, you and I, we can pray here together. And I said, I said, God can save you just like he saved me, and he can change you the same way. And he said, he can do that. I said, he can do that. So him and I prayed together, and he gave his heart to the Lord, got born again. And I remember he had the biggest tears in his eyes. And, when people say that big men don't cry, yes, we do. Because him and I both were that day. And I was just thanking God that what he had done. And I remember telling him, I prayed for him after the prayer, and I always usually pray with somebody, and God reveals things sometimes. And as we were praying, I told him, that God just put it in my mouth. The Lord just spoke it in here, and it comes out here. And I said, you're going to be a testimony for Jesus Christ. I said, you're going to be his testimony. I said, about him. And so we got done praying, and he said, what did you mean by testimony? And I said, well, I said, for one, I said, I know a lot of people in your family, and I said, I'm not telling them. I said, I ain't going to tell them what you done. I said, if God says that you're going to be a testimony, I said, I can't say nothing. So I said, I'm just not going to tell nobody. I said, that's up to you what you do, So anyway, I was leaving, and I told him how God loved me, and I said, I do too. I said, I love you too. So I left, and anyway, I went home, and I told my wife what had happened. I said, you're not going to believe it. I said, God said he was going to bless me if I would just go visit him today. And I said, had the opportunity. I said, he got saved. And she said, you're kidding. I said, no, that really happened. And I thought, but I can't tell nobody because I just couldn't. And, I'd say it was probably, I'm going to guess, I'm trying to think back time-wise. It's hard when you're going back 10, 12 years. And it seemed like to me it was 2 or 3, 4 hours maybe. My wife gets a phone call, and my wife answered the phone, and she said, I want you to tell your husband thank you. And my wife said, what for? She said, my brother called, and it was this guy's sister. Said, my brother called, said he was so excited, said he was calling everybody, said he called his son, and he called everybody he could think of and tell them he got saved. And my wife was telling me, and I was laughing. I thought, God said he was going to be a testimony, and he used him. And in that, I like to share these testimonies, and I would just say, I have seen God at his best, and I've seen his blessings. And I want you to have a blessed day today, and be blessed.